So today, we have a unique treat because of some of the things that we're going to do, but I wanted to first introduce somebody who's become a close friend of mine over the last couple months. Professor Roy Germano. He's a senior research scholar, a professor at NYU, teaches international relations, has a PhD from University of Texas in Austin, I believe, and he came for a tour. Just randomly, like many people do, come on the tours. And I just wanted him to introduce our next segment. He's just going to give a brief overview of what he learned when he came on the tour and what's unfolded since then. We're actually doing a little bit of a video project. He's a documentary maker. He made a really well-known documentary called The Other Side of Immigration. It went behind the scenes in Mexico, sort of giving a different view on immigration and how it affects the US. So it's just an amazing experience. We've become really close in a short amount of time, and I consider him a close friend now.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Roy Germano.
Thank you, Yoni. Thank you, guys. The awkward thing about vlogging is you always have to be like pointing it at people, but this is a new little experiment that we're doing. Who here is Jewish? You notice I didn't raise my hand, so I'm not Jewish. And if you had told me a couple months ago, or even a few weeks, even 2 weeks ago, that I would be addressing a group of Jewish students from all over the world in the Chabad neighborhood in Brooklyn, I would say, what? How did that happen? And really, it has been a really amazing couple months. It all started one day. I am walking down the street with my wife. We go to this pet shop, random pet shop we never go to, and there's this newspaper there for this local newspaper. I thought, I'd just pick it up, and I open it, and there's the story of Yoni Katz and the tours that he leads in Hasidic Brooklyn. And I said to my wife, I have to meet this guy. I have to meet him. And she's like, well, yeah. She read the article. She's like, that kind of sounds like your Jewish brother or something like that. And the reason is because what Yoni's doing is he's opening the doors and saying, come meet us, come learn about us. And my background really started when I was about 15 years ago. I think it was 15 years ago when I was in my early 20s. I worked at a restaurant with a lot of people from Mexico. And so, there's all this anti-immigrant sentiment and all this xenophobia. And when I worked at the restaurant with people from Mexico, I was like, the people here are like nothing like they say they are in the news. They're not like gangsters or drug dealers. They're like really good-hearted people that are migrating to help their families, to send money home. And I was so inspired to go to Mexico and to learn about why people migrate, and that's why I made a documentary. And what I learned in the process of making that documentary, The Other Side of Immigration, and learning about people from Mexico and why they come here, is that once we take the time to get to know each other and learn about each other and stop always focusing on our differences, it becomes very, very hard to hate each other. That doesn't always mean that we're going to love each other or always agree with each other on every single thing. But in the process of getting to know somebody from a different group, we start to see people as individuals. And we know in every group there's good people and bad people. And we start to pick away at the stereotypes. And I think that this is what our country and what our world needs right now. More conversation between people of different groups, of different cultures, of different religions, of different backgrounds. And I think that's the only way we're going to get past all of the polarization and hate that's happening in our world. So, as I said, in some ways Yoni and I are very different, but I've been amazed that in the process of getting to know him and coming to this community, so many of the ways in which we're the same, and so many ways in which I've actually learned from Yoni. And I just want to talk about two of those things, and I think you guys are going to talk about those as well. Is that it? So one big one is this idea of purpose. And I think if I think about folks in my life that aren't Jewish or aren't very religious, a lot of people I know feel a lapse of purpose, or that they're missing purpose and meaning in their life. And in the past few weeks in talking to Yoni, I've been very inspired by the way that you think and the number of people in this community think about living out our purpose and living out God's purpose and doing good for the world to make the world a better place. And there's something that Yoni has said, and something that Rabbi Friedman, have they met Rabbi Friedman?
Sure, they'll meet him along
Maybe
the
on
way.
YouTube. That Rabbi Friedman said when I first came on the tour that really resonated with me. And it was this phrase, be needed, not needy. Have you heard that phrase before? Be needed, not needy. I think that our society is constantly telling us to be needy. You're not good enough. You're not tall enough. You're not good enough at sports. You're not pretty enough. Buy this thing and you'll feel better. And we spend our life searching and searching and searching for that next promotion or that next, YouTube video even, or whatever. We're just looking for the next thing, or more likes on Facebook or Instagram. But if we forget about our own needs and think about what others need, it really feels a lot better. And that's always been this kind of intuition that I've sort of had, that everything that I'm seeing in advertising really doesn't seem to make me happy, and that I feel my happiest when I'm reaching out, lending a hand to others, whether it's somebody in my family or a neighbor, or on a larger scale, going around and speaking about anti-immigrant sentiment and how we should come together. It just always feels better to be needed rather than needy. And so I thank Yoni and folks in this community for really putting a good phrase to that. And I think I shared a phrase with you, a phrase that you said that you use a lot on the tours is, it's difficult to hate somebody that you know. And this is something that I've been saying for a long time through my experience in talking about anti-immigrant sentiment. So that's just a little bit about my story and my connection to this community. Oh, one last thing is I live very close to here. I live on sort of the other side of Crown Heights, where sort of hipster people that are just moved to Brooklyn are starting to live. And it's been great to cross this invisible boundary in my neighborhood and go to another side and realize that we're more similar than we are different. So,
beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That's about all, right? Is there anything else you want me to mention?
I think that's it. I think you covered it.
Did I hit everything?
You hit everything.
All right. Thank you, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tour. It's an excellent, excellent experience.
Thank you so much.